The question about aging we still can't answer. Despite decades of research, longer lifespans, and unprecedented medical data, one question continues to resist a clear answer. Why do some people age gently, while others decline rapidly, even when everything looks the same on paper? We know more about aging than any generation before us. We can track biomarkers, map genomes, predict risk with increasing precision. And yet, when outcomes diverge, explanations often fall short. To understand why this question still matters, we need to look at what modern longevity science struggles to measure. Two people can eat similarly, exercise similarly, sleep similar hours, and still age at radically different speeds. The difference often emerges quietly, long before disease appears, long before intervention seems necessary. Researchers have searched for a master variable, a dominant gene, a single behavior, a universal protocol. But aging refuses to collapse into one cause. It behaves like a system, shaped by interactions rather than inputs. This uncertainty is uncomfortable. It challenges the idea that longevity can be fully optimized, that if we just do the right things, the outcome is guaranteed. The data does not support that confidence. Instead, patterns suggest something more elusive, that aging responds to how life is integrated, how stress resolves, how identity holds, how meaning persists across change. And that leads to the question that still has no definitive answer. Is aging driven more by what we do to our bodies, or by how our lives are allowed to unfold over time? As researchers revisited long-term studies, a subtle pattern kept resurfacing. The strongest predictors of aging were rarely isolated behaviors. They were processes, how stress resolved, how transitions were handled, how disruption was integrated rather than resisted. People who aged more gently were not necessarily more disciplined. They were more complete. Their lives contained clear cycles, effort followed by rest, change followed by stabilization, loss followed by redefinition. In contrast, accelerated aging often appeared where cycles broke down. Stress overlapped stress. Roles ended without replacement. Recovery was postponed indefinitely. The body carried unfinished signals forward year after year. This explained why optimization often failed. Supplements could not restore meaning. Exercise could not replace closure. Perfect habits could not compensate for lives that never reset. The science began pointing toward a difficult truth. Aging may be less about damage and more about accumulation of unresolved experience. Biology responding to psychological and structural imbalance. Modern tools struggle to measure this. Blood tests capture fragments. Wearables track outputs. But integration, the ability to close loops and move forward, remains largely invisible to data, yet the effects are real. Nervous systems that never stand down. Immune responses that never fully resolve. Bodies that age not because they are weak, but because they are overloaded. This reframed the mystery. The question was not why aging varies so widely. It was why we expected it not to. The conflict sharpens when this insight meets modern expectations. We want control, clear levers, actions that guarantee outcomes. But aging refuses to behave like a checklist. If longevity depends on integration rather than optimization, then many common strategies miss the mark. We add more inputs to lives that are already saturated. More goals, more tracking, more pressure to get it right. This often backfires. Effort increases, but resolution does not. Stress is managed, but never completed. Identity shifts, but without time to settle. The system stays active, but never whole. Researchers began to see that people who aged fastest were not always those under the most strain. They were those living in perpetual transition, always adapting, rarely arriving. Life became a series of open loops. Biologically, this is costly. The nervous system treats unresolved change as threat. Repair is postponed. Energy is conserved. Aging accelerates quietly beneath motion. The conflict, then, is philosophical as much as scientific. Longevity cannot be forced without reshaping how life is paced, without respecting endings as much as beginnings. Modern culture celebrates momentum, always moving forward. But without consolidation, movement becomes erosion. Time passes, but nothing settles. And this leaves us facing an uncomfortable possibility that the very way we pursue better aging may be preventing it. The climax of this story is the realization that aging may never yield to a single answer, not because the science is incomplete, but because the question itself is too narrow. Aging is not driven by one cause. It emerges from how lives are carried over time, from whether stress resolves, whether identities stabilize, whether change is integrated instead of endlessly stacked. The resolution is not certainty, but orientation. Longevity improves when lives regain coherence, when effort has an end, when transitions are allowed to settle, when people are not forced to live in a constant state of becoming. Modern longevity science will continue to advance. Better markers, better tools, better predictions. But without addressing how life is structured, those advances will always have limits. The unanswered question, then, may be the most important one. Not how long we can live, but what kind of life allows aging to slow naturally. Because in the end, the body does not ask for perfection. It asks for completion. And when life is allowed to close its loops, time becomes less an enemy and more of a companion. So what do you think? Are we repeating the same mistake again?